So everybody that wants to steal my stuff can.
Okay.
That'll
It's
be that'll be where we go with that. So I'll give everybody about 2 more minutes here, and we'll get started. I had quite, we had I think 9. Hey Todd, dude, I got what do you call it? Lightburn downloaded on the computer now. Very
Cool.
excited. Very
Yeah.
excited to actually use it at some point. Pretty pumped.
Do you have anything to use it on yourself, or got to wait for the lab?
I gotta wait for the lab. I've got a spot picked out. I'll talk to you about my spot later on when you guys ask like what are you gonna do? What else are you gonna do with the shop? So
Nice.
yeah, yeah. You guys give them 2 more minutes here, or 30 more seconds. Now that it's recording, people are gonna be like, when's he gonna start talking about stuff? You know, that's the struggle. All right. Well, I mean, I'll start. This is my PPE corner. I call it the PPE corner because that's all I keep kind of in this spot. Let me see if I can get that. There we go. Kind of rotate it there. Okay. Um, I also keep my turnings when they suck. I kind of throw them there, and I might give them away or something. I got a lot of staging areas. That's kind of my technique to remember where everything is. It's just to leave it out, but have certain areas for staging. Um, when it comes to the glasses, you guys can see I keep a bunch of glasses here. I have my brother comes over. My brother-in-law helps me out sometimes. So I have stuff for them when they're here, and the scouts and stuff like that when they come over. I've got 2 things I want to show you. One, this is it's a trend. This is the one that I'm using nowadays. It's got replaceable filters. You kind of pop these guys out, and in a couple months, I'll be able to buy one of those again. Um, I can't say that I'm hugely impressed. This is pretty small for my face size, but for the most part, it's super comfortable. You've got your valve on the bottom, so whenever you see that, that's where you want your valve. That seems to be much better. It doesn't fog up my glasses nearly as much. And then I've got a set of when I'm not wearing these guys. These are the ISO tunes with the Bluetooth and the tunes on them, and I really like them. They're pretty good when it comes to killing all the noise and everything. But when I really need something, this is what I'll wear. So I've got this whole kind of spot set out in the front. My shop actually, I go down the stairs, you hang a right. I'll show you that in a second later on. But you walk in here, and it has this stupid hallway because I have this like this little alcove and stuff, and then I have this like closet to nowhere that I just keep weird stuff in it. That nothing's very interesting. And then you're in the big shop proper, so I'll put you in the corner here, kind of give you the full tour, and then we'll go from each station. So you've got the. Let's see if I can get this. Where's my little button? There's my button. Is that? Nope, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, it is. It just wasn't doing it right. There we go. So starting over here, you got your router table, a drill, a big lathe. I've got some stuff behind there. You can see the big table, out bench, and assembly table with a brand new planer. We're going to talk about that planer. We're going to complain about that planer because I'll just talk about it later. It's Canadian. It's missing teeth. And then bandsaw, scrap wood, the hand tool area, and coming into the miter station. And then if you see in the middle there, I have the big saw stop. So this is like my big wood shop proper. There's a lot of interesting little bits and doodads and parts to it. So I'm thinking I'll just walk through it and kind of give you the rundown. And I'm also going to tell you why I chose, because I've bought most of these new, and I'm a big fan of buying things new rather than buying them used. Bigger fan than buying them used. And I'll tell you why real quick, and that's because nobody's messed them up yet. And the problem I find with used equipment is that there's always one little thing that causes me to have a conniption fit, right? You never buy the perfect used piece of equipment. There's always like somebody's missing a guard, somebody threw away a handle, you don't have one accessory, and you can always replace that stuff. right? But the replacements are always just as expensive as the new one was. And by the time you get around to figuring out what you actually needed and wanted, you've probably spent the same amount of time and at least in time um, and in money replacing it. So I find that annoying. I'd rather just uh, get to know equipment really well and then buy something that I'm going to try to keep around for a long time. So let's start off with the saw stop. I don't recommend any one saw except for this one. This is the saw stop contractor model. It holds up pretty well. I don't see any reason to get the big one. If you have a home shop and you have a 110 circuit, right? If you don't have access to a 210 circuit, this is the only one you want to get. Flat out. I'm not accepting arguments otherwise. It's rock solid, so it doesn't shake, doesn't move on you. Of course, it's going to move on me now, right? There we go. Rock solid, it won't move on you. It's big enough, powerful enough to cut through pretty much anything you're going to throw at it in a small home shop like mine. It has the brake on it, right? So if my finger goes in it, it will stop. But I didn't buy it from me. I have little kids. I fully expect my little kids one day to say, hey, Dad, can I work in the workshop with you and build something? I want to build blankety blankety for my blankety blankety reason. And the table saw is the most useful tool in the shop, but it's also one of the most dangerous. And there's no way in hell that I'm going to go to my grave saying, hey, I saved $1,000 one time, but my kid got his finger cut off. So I'm not going to have that particular conversation with my soul. And that's why I bought it the sauce. So, and I don't think you should have that conversation either. So that's why I've got it. It's, again, everything about this one. I've got a 36-inch here. They come with 52-inch fences. I've worked with those. Obviously, I've got this big, giant pole in the middle of my workshop because it's a house. So that's the 52-inch wasn't going to work for me. This is about all I need. I've got a trick to break down lumber to a size that I can handle it in here. I don't have a very good, you can see I'll swing it over here. That little tiny door over there is the little door to my house, and it's got about this much room to turn the piece and tuck it in. So a full sheet of lumber doesn't really come down here very often, or well, I have to remove the door, I believe. But Lowe's will cut anything in half if I give them enough money. So that's what I do. I have them cut everything in half, and then I store it in the corner, and I'll show you where I store my plywood. So I'm not cutting any full sheets of plywood on this particular machine at all at any point in time. I've worked my way around that problem. Does that make sense? Right? So yes, that's the saw stop. Anything else I could say about it? The couple accessories I fully think you should get for it. The Wixie angle gauge. Whenever you are going to do an angle on it, a bevel cut, this is what you want, right? Of course, you're going to use it once every 4 years. So, you get 5 batteries because every time you're going to use it, the battery will be out. But, that's just your own problem. I found that out to be a problem. You're going to want a decent miter gauge. I wouldn't use anyone that doesn't come with these metal indents. So this is the Inca. I don't use it a whole ton, obviously. That's why it's got so much dust on it. But when you do need it, it's super accurate. So once you set it up, you're pretty much good to go. You don't need to cross cut anything. You'll find that's useful for things like picture frames and stuff that this guy, the miter saw, doesn't do very well. So there's certain machines that, certain operations that I'll do here that I won't do anywhere else. And then, of course, you're going to need a dado set. Mostly I use this guy for box joints on certain projects. But Freud makes really great stuff. If you ever see their name on it, it's probably pretty good and it'll do you fine. Yeah, they're kind of like that mid-range, almost like when you really want to use tools, They're the ones that for blades and stuff, if you see their name on something, I just go for it. It's not too expensive. It's not cheap. It's really good quality, and it'll survive you. I mean, I've had this for 10, 15 years, so it's perfectly fine. It's never going to run out. I don't use it that much, right? And as long as I don't run my finger into it, I should be fine. And there's one last one. If you can get it, they're a lot of fun, and find them really useful when I build frame and panel doors. That's one of these guys, a mortise and tenon jig. I got this one for free with an old table saw. I got the table saw for free. Actually, I didn't get it for free. What happened was a guy hit me.
Hey, Patrick.
Yeah.
It's Daniel. Just wanted to pop in to say hi.
Hey, dude. Hey. So let me tell you how I got this. All right. So one time I was at the Home Depot, right, and this guy ran into my truck. Okay. And he left me a note. His note said, "Hey, I ran into your truck." And I looked around my truck, and there was a very small spot. Like, I could still open the doors and drive away. So I was like, whatever. And I called up his insurance company, and they were like, "Well, we'll give you a check for like $1,500." And I said, "Well, that's $1,500 that I don't need to fix my truck." So I bought a table saw and a cable. That's my story there.
Lol.
Yeah. So I highly suggest that if you have like a Porsche or whatever, park it in Home Depot parking lots. And every time that it gets run into, don't fix it. Just buy more tools, because it's more useful than a Porsche. So that's the table saw. Any questions about that particular station before I move on and start rambling about another tool?
Mini Nova Labs. Basically, I'm looking at.
Is that a no? Because I can't see everybody.
Oh.
Okay, cool.
You don't have.
I'll start rambling about the miter saw.
You have a sled for your table saw?
Yeah, I have 2 sleds that I use. Let me grab them out.
Patrick, I'm gonna pop out. So nice.
So the crosscuts. All right, Daniel.
Okay, see ya.
So the crosscuts. For most crosscuts, I use this guy, right? For about 95% of stuff. There's 2 times that this guy doesn't work very well, and a big panel. So when I want to cut something like a kitchen cabinet, this is the guy that I'll bust out. It's just a fence, a board, and a little runner right there. And it fits this guy, and I have to there's some body English that goes into it to get it straight, because when you cut 24 inches, if you're off by like a millimeter, you're really off by like a lot of meters at the end of the cut. So there's a little twist I have to do, but it works, and it gets me straight cuts. That's what I want. I want to be able to cut big, wide stuff here. Then, whoop. Then when I want to cut small stuff, I have this guy. So straight line cutter, little holdy apparatus. It works pretty good. Not the best, but it works okay. And it'll hold something small, allow me to cut something pretty big, pretty small down at the bottom. You can see I made this long before I had the saw stop, because I cut through the screw, because I'll do that. And then there's one last one that I use once in a while, and that's this box jig. So I'll put my box in it, and I haven't used it yet. It's waiting for a box. But you put it up against the fence, you run it over you'll run it like this. Let's see here. Okay, here we are. I'll put it like this. I'll have a box in here, and I'll pass it over the blade, and that'll cause a spline to be cut in the side of a box, and I can use that to reinforce the joints. So that's super useful. But you have to make that project type of deal. So I made that one when I was making one for the labs. The labs one got used, but this one hasn't gotten used since, because I haven't really had an extended period of time where I've been sitting and making in this space for about 2 years. And now I have all the time in the world.
Did you make the Nova Lab small piece jig?
Yeah, which would be why it doesn't cut exactly at 90 degrees.
Also,
because
it looks
I-
exactly the same as yours.
Yeah. So there's a lot of jigs that I made a couple generations of jigs ago. They've been replaced over the years. That one hasn't. Nobody's done small work on that big saw yet. Usually that's what happened. I am a firm believer in jigs and fixtures and appliances and even tools. I'll go through. I like cheap and simple. So the simpler it is, the cheaper it is, the more likely it is it was mine. If it's something big, complicated, and you have to buy $7 or $15 worth of parts to make it, I probably didn't have anything to do with it. So because it just, I don't know. Like you can cut a taper on a lot of different ways, and I don't know why you need to have a tapering jig if unless you want to do it one type of way or something like that. So, but this is my miter saw. This is the bellow, the ball. One of the saw stop and this guy are the two tools I'm proudest about owning, and they're the most absolutely the funnest ones to use. It's got a 10-inch blade. I didn't go for the 12-inch because I'm not really I don't need the size. I don't cut anything that big. I don't cut like 6x6 timbers or anything like that. And but what I like about this guy is notice that this part right here, it's got an extending arm, and then it comes down, and then it pulls back. So what happens is I've got a really shallow depth here. I'm not wasting 3 square feet of floor space for a tool that uses half of that, right? I don't have those 2 iron bars that are sticking out the back. There's only 2 tools right now that do this right here, and that's the Makita. It has all of its bars up front, and this guy right here, and without a doubt, and the Capex, the best tool. So this is the mid-range of that style. It's the one that has the really cool arm mechanism. I like that it has a right trigger and it has a left trigger, so I can hold this with either hand and be super comfortable with it and be able to turn it on and off. That's like without a doubt really awesome. And then it has a stop, so I can cut tracks. I can almost cut dados with this, real thin, small dados. I can twist it left and right. It can do bevels. It's got really nice, these really nice iron bars, fence here, and I can lock them in. And a really easy to use indent system. Let's see if I can actually use it while people are watching, because that's always the second trick, is to be able to use everything while people are looking at you. And of course, I'm not going to be able to because I've done something to it. Come on, scallywag. There it is. One up, pop left, pop right. The bench itself is a new addition. I haven't tagged this down. Usually I drill these guys so they don't kind of dance on me like that. But this is one of a twin. So this is the Harbor Freight. Give you that good, better view. This is the Harbor Freight Yukon 46-inch bench. I'm going to get a second one. A second one will fit in this space, right, on either side. So I'll have a row of them, and then I'm going to put a long fence and some T-track, and I'll have a nice stop system in place for this. The 2 of them, they'll be the same height. They'll roll around. I can roll it out, sweep behind it, which is super useful. This one has all my small miscellaneous hand tools and project tools and tooling and stuff like that. There's nothing really special in here. I've got one of pretty much anything that you want. Rotary drills, hammer drills, belt sanders, circ, an angle grinder. One tool that is kind of neat, Mike's probably the only one that has it. This is the size of my new Dremel tool. It's ginormous. It's pretty awesome. Like it turns on and it's just like it's really neat. And you put like one of those rotary burrs on it up here. It's a 1/4-inch shaft. Put one of the rotary burrs on it, and it's a power carving tool. I got it for a TFT project that I'm still working on. Not done yet.
It's not the TFT if you finish it.
Yeah, that's right. It's not a TFT if you finish it. So that's one of my favorite tools that I've gotten recently. The one I've been using a lot recently is one of those multi-tools. If you don't have one of these and you're doing a lot of home improvement work, floor work and wall work and stuff like that, this thing is just fantastic. I don't believe in brands. I don't particularly buy any sort of color, but I do believe in class of tools. And I can say get yourself one of these guys. They are absolutely the bomb diggity. I've been beating the hell out of this one, and I can't wait to make it die so I can buy a real one, you know, an actual one that has a real brand on it. Let's see, let's get that closed. And then my air tools go here. So this big empty space is supposed to be an airbrush that's been out on loan. May never come back. I don't really care. But I've got the ones that just like our set, 16 and a 16 and a 18 and a 16 inch right here. And the one I use the most is the 18 inch. This guy. That's if you're going to buy one, I would get an 18 gauge Brad. That seems to be like I can use it for almost anything. So really like that. Any questions there? Going once, going twice. Okay, so we've cut our stock. Let's go to the, we've cut our stock to length. We've trimmed it up on the table saw. I'm going to show you where my jointer is going to be on Tuesday because I just bought one because I'm not at Nova Labs anymore and I need a jointer. It's going to go on this side of the table saw, right? So I'll have the jointer here. This is my Grizzly planer. So far, I have to say, I really like the finish that comes off. If it wasn't for the fact that it's missing not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 10 teeth out of 36 teeth. It came only with, what's that, 26 teeth installed. So I had to call them up and grump at them. But it's a spiral head cutter, and it just works just like ours. If you're going to get a planer, I probably would get one of those. They seem to, I really enjoy the finish that comes off of it, and they eat a lot more stuff. So this is my lathe turning area. I've got this is going to be a project down here. This is you guys see this one? Am I too far over? Let's start. There we are. Okay. So 6-inch quarter cable to grind the chisels with. I built my own Wolverine jig. Sort of works. This guy is the Peachtree holder. This works really well. I would just buy it. I wouldn't try to fancy it up. I wouldn't try to go buy one from somewhere else. Or buy this one. Buy a cheap one of these. It will save you a lot of heartbreak trying to figure out how to do stuff. When you do your woodworking stuff, the lathe stuff, they usually say to get a variable speed. So that's what I did. I got one that had a variable speed. If you go too cheap, they're one speeds. If you go too, so you want to go kind of like that next level up and get something that has a twisty turning knob on it. That's important, twisty turning knobs here. This is the Harbor Freight belt and disc sander. This is I think this is a 4-inch by something, a 24 maybe, and this is a 4 or 5-inch rotator disc sander. It's just like the one you might see at Nova Labs, except much smaller. They will run forever, and you can beat the crap out of them. I mean, these are like, you do not have to feel bad about what you are doing to this machine because they are essentially replaceable at the price point that they have. I think I got this one brand new for like, they go on sale at roughly $60 to $70, and you could just beat on it. There's no reason to be nice about this particular tool. And it really does work really well. You can hog off a lot of stuff. I usually bring this one to classes, and I've never had it bogged down or anything like that. Like it's not a fussy thing. So I really have been very, very happy with the price and the quality point at that. This is my lathing setup, and someday I will be worthy of it. So we've got this is the Grizzly. This is their, I want to say it's their midpoint model. It was it was under 1,000. I remember that much. And if you buy from Grizzly, the shipping is like 99 bucks. And they're really, really good about that. They'll call you up. They'll tell you to be there anytime during the next day. So you get to take a day off work. I like that part. So I took a day off work, or I order them in the summer. And this guy came along. It's got 5 speeds from slow to fast. It's got a spindle RPM that tells me which speed I should be at. It can only change, you only change the belt while it's running, so you turn it on, turn the thing, which can be troublesome because you always end on a fast speed right at the end of your project, and then you load your next project up and you look at it and you go, oh shit, I'm on the wrong speed. You have to take everything off and change the speed up again. But that's the way love goes. And I've got my tooling and my measuring stuff over here. You can tell by how much dust is on it that it gets really dusty in this area and gross. I've got a couple neat little ones though. I've got a little lathe down at the bottom. I'll show you that right here. Let's see if I can, oops, I can't see now. Sorry guys, you could probably see, but I can't. I've got a little lathe right there, little pen lathe. I bust this out when the kids want to play. Right there, a little Carbertech lathe I got used. It's still used. It will be used at the end of it. Used up by the time I'm done with it. But it's a nice little guy. And then when it comes to this is an oscillating spinning sander. Again, it's a Harbor Freight special. So you can just beat on it and not feel bad. I love that part. And then I've got the Beal system on the bottom for finishing on my lathe. So that's the lathe tool sanding corner of the shop. Any questions there? Okay. All right, let's go see here. For dust collection, I've got the dust filter up there. That's a shop-made filter, so I could pop it off, rinse it out, reuse it. The inside one, you have to go in and vacuum, but that's nice, So I tend to leave it running while I'm doing a lot of sanding work or finishing days. I'll just leave that running 24/7. And then I've got the second class. It's not the little one. It's the 1 horse, I want to say. It was dead cheap. It was like 200 bucks on sale from Grizzly when I picked it up, and it is worth every penny. Loud as hell, but it'll suck everything that you need it to suck. So 1 machine at a time. And since there's not 5 of me, or my name is not Bradley, I'm not using that many machines at once. So pretty good. One of my first purchases was from Grizzly was this guy. It was my my little 14-inch. This is, you'll realize very quickly, this is the painted black version of the one we have at the labs. That's because I like the ones that we bought for the labs so much. I went and bought this one. That was what happened. I really, really enjoyed the labs one, and this guy it's perfect. It's not too loud. It's not too. It's big enough that I'll do a lot of work, and it sees some use. It doesn't see a ton of use all the time, but again, when I'm not in the labs, I'm going to use this every now and then. And when you do use it, right, when you have to use a bandsaw, you have to use a bandsaw. So like for bandsaw boxes or something like that, every couple Christmas seasons, I'll be sitting on this guy for a good couple hours. And that's really useful. This was mid 500s, I want to say, without shipping. So that's, and you'll notice how many Grizzly stuff I have. I don't hawk for them, but I will say that when it comes to tools, right? Again, I don't believe in color schemes. I don't believe in brands, but I certainly absolutely do believe that certain classes of tools are more useful than others. And overall, Grizzly has the price point that's like, you'll get the class of tool you need for the project that you're doing, and you'll have the best price at that price point that's not used. And you get all the trouble that comes with getting a used piece of equipment. Though if you like the trouble, go ahead, knock yourself out. This is a very special spot for me. This is my two toolboxes that make it seem like I like to do hand tool work. And so what's best about these boxes is these are full of all the tools that I've outgrown. And if you need to use them, I'll give them to you to borrow. And so when my brother or his friends come over, or my son wants to use something, they have tools that are available to them that I don't have to worry about, and I don't have to complain about, and I don't have to like fuss or anything like that. I really like that part. So I've got a big tool chest that I bring out. You'll see these out at Maker Faire. This is what I bring to Maker Faire, and they're really nice. I like those pieces. So I highly suggest having, if you don't have one, have like a crap area where you just put all your crappy tools. And you're just like, hey, somebody knows I have tools and they want to borrow them. You get the crappy tools, and then you don't have to worry. You don't have to cry about it when they don't bring them back. This is my general work area. This is where I spend most of my time. Here's my bench. Let me show you the fire truck, as I call her. So I'm gonna grab a drink of water here. I talk about my fire truck. Give you the good shot. There we go. Like it. All right. So the fire truck. This is a Roubeau bench. If you've never heard anybody talk about a Roubeau bench, you should really listen to Chris Schwartz. He will sit down and like just talk for hours about how this is the greatest workbench of all time. I am not entirely sure he's correct, but I'm also not entirely sure he's not wrong. He's not wrong. It is a solid. It's a solid design. So he kind of goes into, when you're woodworking and you're thinking about workbenches, and in reality, when you're just making in general, what do you really want to have? And he says, you really want a bench that allows you to clamp your workpiece in 3 dimensions. And you want a workbench, a certain size. And this is the bench that the French decided that they would make. This is a kind of a European continental style. So a couple cool things about it that you might not have seen before. This is the leg vise. And mine's a little beat up from Maker Faire. But spin this guy, it'll close up. And you can see there's a lot of racking, right? There's got this little triangle going on. So you take this guy and you stick it through the pin. And then when you close it, it'll clamp nice and tight on whatever workpiece you're looking at. You've got a dead man lift that can slide back and forth, a sliding dead man. And I've got a set of hold fasts. I got one for the top and one for the bottom. And what these do is you come in and you kind of move them so they fit on your workpiece, and you hit them with a hammer, and they'll stick your workpiece in the air at that one spot. So you pin something here, you pin something here, and you can plane like this. If you want to pin something and work on it here, you put this guy, you put it underneath it. I've got my cauls and stuff on the bottom, just pieces of scrap wood that I have lying around. If I want to do something fancy, I'll have a bench hook like this, right? Come up here, it's a big Z-shaped piece of wood. Put it up, and I can work here. You can see I don't usually do that. I just work on the bench because I'm not precious about my materials or anything that I do. I put the metalworking vise on it because I've recently gotten into metalworking, and every now and then I want this vise rather than that stuff. And I simply don't I don't use this spot as much as you think I should to say, I don't want to put that there, because whenever I need the whole thing, I just take that off. It's not a big of an issue. And then I have dogs, And I went, a lot of people will make their own, but these are like $4 on Amazon or something ridiculous. And so I got a set of dog holes here, and I can pinch something here and plane it, or I'll spin it this way. I'll pretend I'm lefty. I can plane it like this, okay? And if I want a planing stop, I can always take the hold fast out and tuck this guy in here, and then I've got a planing stop for myself. So I've got like it's a platform to do a lot of different general tool woodworking stuff. And, you never really get away from hand tool work and woodworking. As much as I like to mess around and say that I don't do it, you never do get away from it, because sooner or later you've got to cut joinery, you've got to clean something out, you've got to use a chisel. So I have my general tools gunk area where I put screwdrivers and tap and die sets and my measuring tools and stuff. But I also have a hand tool, right? Built with hand tools, shop spot, and that's what this is right here. So enough stuff that I can go in there and mess around and play when I want. You'll notice I don't use any Western saws. The problem with Western saws is that you need to buy a bunch, and with Eastern saws, there's this one, and then there's this one, and pretty much that's all you need on the Japanese saws. And they cut better. Every now and then you need a flush cut, and I leave that one out. It's like $2 at Harbor Freight. You replace them when your sons come over and bang them against something that doesn't cut. So I really like those. The two nice ones are these guys. These are my Lee Nielsen's. Low angle jack plane to smooth something out if I need to really crush it, and a block plane to do chamfers. I really like these chisels. We have these at the shop. I recommended them for the shop. They're a good mix between price and quality. They're the Narex chisels. If you don't beat on them, if you're not using them every single day, I think they'll last you. The edge lasts a long, long time. You don't really need to replace it that often. I really like them. Highly recommend them. I often make my own tools. So I've got a pair of winding sticks. There we go, right here. It's just two pieces of wood that are the same thickness. This one, though, has an inlaid a piece of maple, so I can see it when it pops out when I'm trying to flatten something out. I'll tell you how many times I've done that. Used it twice, but it was good. It was a lot of fun to use them. It makes you feel like you're like one of them old-timey dudes. I also, when it comes to that, if I have hand tools, somebody's going to ask, what's my sharpening system? I use some very dusty old water stones. I really like them. I made a number of these guys, just little tiny jigs, so I can set up which stone I want to set up. Oh, look at that! I found that. Huh. I was wondering where you were. Ah. Here's one of my favorite tools right here. If you've never used one of these little general 6-inchers, these are awesome. It was down at the bottom of a dumb drawer. This is paid off. Thank you for coming over, guys. I found that. Yeah, there we go. Now, before you complain about the quality of this piece of crap tool chest, I took that out of somebody's trash. Did not make it. I'm disavowing all knowledge of it. So that's this area. Then I've got my measuring tools right here, and the cool glamour shot of the corner, all the different tools lined up, so I could just grab them when I need them, or my sons can grab them. That's what generally happens down here. My boys come and they're like, oh my God, Dad's got a new toy. He doesn't know I'm down here. Why don't I play with it? Only thing I want to talk about over here, this is the Brooklyn 4x4 wood glue. So Aaron, this one's for you. I went and bought this ridiculously expensive glue. It's made in the USA. It does not come with you pay more in shipping than you do in the actual glue, but it dries and clamps up in under 30 minutes. So that's worth everything right there. I really enjoyed that part. Yeah. And it dries clear. So if you're painting, you're never going to notice the difference. If you're sanding, it's a little bit harder to make sure that you get all the glue out, but eventually you'll get the glue out and it will, you'll be good to go. So that's this little area. Then we'll go over here, and this is my drill press. I got it for free, and that's all I'll say about this drill press. That's why it's there, because it was free. This is my third or fourth Makerspace. Nova Labs, I think it's like my number, like in the middle of that, like somewhere like a 2. And what's nice about being part of Makerspace is that every now and then you kind of get the Makerspace is always going through, tools and stuff like that. So every now and then I would be able to pick something up and upgrade. And I was a buddy of the founder of that particular one. And he was like, we got like 6 drill presses. It's like, why do you have 6? He's like, I don't know. If you choose one and walk away with it, I won't notice. I said, I can handle that type of solution. And I just put it in the truck and left. Then there's my air compressor. I got one of those big 6-gallon, the Boss Stitch. If you ever get a chance to get that Boss Stitch air compressor kit, it comes with that, and I think it comes with the three air guns. Highly recommend it. My father-in-law gave me that, and that was the best thing I ever stole from his garage. So I was pumped to get that. And then, I haven't talked about the router. Then there's the router table. So this is a homebrew router table, though. If you've been in the Nova Labs one, you probably recognize it pretty well. A lot of things I like about it. Only thing I don't like about my design is I haven't put little leveler feet on it. So when I come like this, you can see it wiggles. But it's got a fence with the blue T-track on it. It's got 2 T-tracks to glide up and down here. It's got a 3/4 inch for a miter, and it has a T-track here. So there's a lot of different setups and tools that I can sit down, stops and stuff that I can lock on and play with. And I can also open and close the front fence for things like dados and stuff. So this fence is actually the 3rd or 4th jig that I made. It's actually the oldest jig in this room here. It was one of the first ones that I made at when I lived in Texas. And it's been so versatile that I've actually kept it unchanged. And that's really a big testament to how good your jig is the first time, as if you haven't changed it in 10 years. So you can see that I've got drawers. They've filled up with all sorts of accessories and routers. I run 2 routers because I don't believe you need anything more. I have a quarter cable, and I only have quarter cable, not because I particularly love the brand, but because I do particularly love having all my accessories fit the first time that I use it. And you can't say that about Craftsman. You can't say that about Harbor Freight. You can't say that about any of the cheaper brands. Quarter cable is essentially runs industry standard. So if you're going to buy one at home, you got to get a Porter cable or something more expensive. The DeWalt, the Bosch, the Triton is another big one that I've seen around. Those are all really nice. I've got the 2-horse. I don't really need a 3-horse. I haven't found a need for it yet. I don't do big enough work. Maybe one day I will, and then I'll use it. Then I've got this guy right here, the Bosch Colt. I got this when these laminate trimmers were first, this one first came out. I think it was like um, first or second edition of that. And I really love it. I use it all the time. I use it far more than I use the other one. Usually the other one is locked inside the router table, and I use that little Bosch whenever I want to go play somewhere else. It's what I use the most. On the assembly table, a couple things you probably want to see. I use a couple tools a lot for joinery. I don't have a domino, but I do have a biscuit joiner. And if you're going to buy a biscuit joiner, I, again, buy a Porter Cable or a better one, so the DeWalt's or something in that kind of mid-range, mid-consumer to pro market range, because all the other ones suck and they don't fit most biscuits. So Porter Cable, this guy is absolutely amazing. Super solid, nice. They cut out perfectly. I use a lot of the 20s, so I've got my 20 set up. And once I set it up, I can switch between sizes very, very quickly, very, very simply. And it just, I've never had any complaints. It really was a game changer in the quality of my work and the quality of what I could do as a woodworker. So that was one of the really sweet purchases. The other one is, of course, Big Blue, and it comes in a smaller box, but you'll know who Big Blue is when I bring it out. And that's the Craig jig. So if you don't have, I think this is their K5 or whatever, their master one. I don't think you need the weird one with the wings. That's like a little too much. It's like a little too much blue for me. But this guy is well worth the money. If you got a spot to put it, a table that you can put it on and leave it out, I would suggest that you do that. Once you have it, you'll find that you use it all the time. And if you don't, then you might want to get one of these guys. These are like 14 bucks, this kit. It's a ridiculous price for how high quality the Craig jigs are in comparison to the other pocket hole jigs. Because you can get another brand. You can get an off brand, and they're a little bit less expensive, but not by a ton. And that like $2 upcharge is well worth all the money you're going to spend on it. These guys they just work. And again, getting the pocket holes and getting over my fear of people laughing at me because I was using pocket holes, that was a big game changer in the market of like woodworking.
So what are those for?
Okay. Whew.
What are those for, those jigs? I've not seen them.
The Craig jig?
Yeah.
Mike, was that the Craig jig? Yeah. These are for pocket holes. So essentially, you would use a screw. Let me get you one. You use some screws that look like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're able to go, instead of straight into a piece of wood,
Oh, you angle
right?
the screws in?
You're going to come in like flat, like on an angle.
All right.
Except you'll be able to go like this.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And what's great about that, what that allows you to do is you can make your joinery gets to be a little bit more accurate, right? The screws are going to hold everything together, and they're, for the most part, they're definitely not as strong as a mortise and tenon joint or a rabbet and glue joint or a dovetail joint or something like that, but they are about 15 times quicker to make. And if you are dimensionally challenged like I am, joinery, like getting good at joinery is a real skill, right? Getting good at any one thing is a real skill. And once you do like dovetails and you get all your bad dovetails out, right? You're still going to be, you still got rabbets and you still got, this and that and blah, blah, blah. you still got all this other stuff to do. Pocket hole joinery is essentially you make one cut and you get good at one cut, right? And that's what the machines are for. They do the cut probably more accurately than you're going to be able to do by hand at any one point in time. So they're far more. It really ups what you're able to accomplish, right? And the biscuit joinery is this kind of the same way. You can join two pieces of wood together, and the biscuits, not only do they align it, they also give it some extra oomph to hold together. So you can put together things like picture frames and boxes and cabinets and plywood boxes. You can put all that stuff together using the biscuit joinery, and it's going to be super, super strong and hold together, and you won't have to fuss the same level of fussiness as you would if you were trying to do it all with sliding dados and sliding dovetail dados and stuff like that.
Okay, thanks.
Sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So I've got one of everything. So I've done it wrong at least 5 times. So that's just the way that it is. And then I've settled on what I like, and I like those two a lot more than I like a lot of the other stuff. Yeah. So that's my shop. The first part of my shop. Let's go to part 2. Unless you have any more questions about the actual shop proper. Go once, going twice. Okay, shop 2. Wait, there's more. All right, so here's the office. And so I have 2 jobs, I have 2 gigs, type of things that I focus on. One's the woodworking, but the other one's the teaching. And for that, I have this space. So let's start right over on the side. That's where I leave that's a big pile. These are all projects that I should get to at some point in my life. And their parts. But I've got my 3D printers. I'm just about to get this DG12 online. I've been working on it for a long time. I'm getting there. Sooner or later, I'll get there. Then we spin around. Door. I've got my dartboard that I don't use. Craft tables for the boys, right? Sewing kit. Big craft storage, and weird stuff over here. So I've got electronics. I've got projects. I've got all sorts of just. It's kind of like where my small stuff goes every day. Then I've got my work desk and my printer and scanner, and then my project show-off spot where I put all my stuff, and Bruce Springsteen and all that other good stuff. So this is my second side of my shop. Any questions going on there? No? All right, there's one more spot we get to check out, because every shop needs storage. I talked for an hour about this place. You guys got the serious tour. All right, so there's the stairs to nowhere. And then there's this space right here. This is my materials storage. So it's kind of like the consumables cabinet at Nova Labs, just about as messy, just about as messy up there. A bunch of my hardware stuff, relatively organized today because you guys are here. I got to organize it a couple weeks ago, and coronavirus. And then this is the part that I really wanted to just kind of talk about and show you guys. This is my bucket system for my home projects. Because I've got this problem. I've got too many tools, obviously, for that one shop, right? I want that one shop to be useful and productive. And I still have to do home improvement. So my dad taught me this one when I was a kid, and I'll give him credit for it. He calls it the buckets, right? So this is my concrete bucket. If I have a concrete tool, it goes in the bucket, right? And then the bucket, when I'm doing concrete, goes on the launch table. So now I don't have to go through this whole place to find my concrete when I'm doing concrete work somewhere else in the shop or up in the house, right? So this is where I load everything to launch. I do a lot of staging. I have so stupid projects going on, and I have like real bad ADHD, so I have to stage everything. Otherwise I'll lose it. So I've got my concrete, I've got drywall, painting. Painting and drywall are different. Plumbing, and then my just general stuff, brushes and caulk guns and flooring and electric tweezers and twitchers and stuff like that. So when I want to do whatever I want to do up in the house, I'll go grab the appropriate bucket, and then at least 80% of the tools are in that bucket. And when they come back, they just go back in the same table at the same configuration. Okay? Any questions about that? Nothing cool there, other than like my giant epoxy collection. I will say, if you, this stuff is good, right? This is the stuff that we use, but that stuff is better. That's the eco epoxy, and it's a substantial difference in quality. Though I will say, you still have some of the same issues, right, that show up here. You just a few of them lose. You don't have the time crunch. You don't have to do the flame nearly as much to get that done. But so I've got a lot of epoxies, mineral oil. Oh, Karen, I got something for you. I tried it. I did it the other day. My next cutting board class. I've got something.
Yes, sir.
Next time you call me for a cutting board class,
Yes, sir.
I made little gift tins.
you
They're full of the wax.
were
right?
talking. You were
How
talking
cute
to
is that?
Okay,
cute
I
is
know
that?
who did that. I know who did that.
I did it. I did it.
Sure. Okay.
I couldn't
What's
find.
your-
I couldn't find. But I couldn't find my wife's essential oils, so they just smell like beeswax. But
Tell them
one day,
what's your recipe?
it's mineral oil and beeswax, and then as much as however much I want to put in there. It's similar. That's
Okay.
just what the recipe is.
Well,
Whatever it is.
somebody told me it was 5 parts mineral oil to 1 part beeswax, if that matters.
No, I don't think it matters at all. I tried it. I did like one of like a little bit. I did another of a bunch of it, and I was like, whatever, this is stupid.
It works.
Whoever says it's like a 5 part to 1 part is just lying to you. Just put
See,
as much
now-
as you want in there.
Now, if you're giving out those little things at your class, I'm going to have to up my game.
Yeah, no, that's what I did. You were challenging my supremacy,
Oh, yeah.
so I had to
I know.
throw in a little. I had to put something in there. Actually, I think Mike did it. Mike over at Makerspace
Yeah,
did
I
it, and
know.
I was like, that son of a that SOB.
Yep.
He's just
Yes.
over there just melting, making some stuff with a hot plate. There is no way I'm going to let him beat me. He's over there like
Okay.
charging. Anyway,
Hey, guys, it's the little bits that
it's the
count,
little things that
okay?
count, right? Anyway, so that's the shop. I will open it up to questions and whoop, comments.
Okay,
and
which one of
concerns.
those pieces of equipment are you giving away tonight as a door prize?
As a door prize?
Yeah, because you've got the beeswax, but that doesn't really stand up. I'm just trying to figure out, probably not the table saw, but what
Probably
am
not
I
the
in
table
that
saw.
bandsaw?
You think that bandsaw? No. I like that bandsaw way too much.
So,
What about
so
that
maybe
toolbox?
it's like what our shop teacher at high school said about his anvil when we admired it. He said, if you can carry it, you can take it.
Ooh, like that.
My father.
None
my
of us
father,
could lift it.
my grandfather was a beekeeper and and what else did he do? A beekeeper, a blacksmith, and a gardener apparently.
Oh, very cool.
And well, the other half of that is he was also a sociopath. Not a very nice guy.
Hmm.
But he my father has a post vise that is 4.5 feet tall. And he says whichever one of you is still alive when I go down, you'll get it. And I'm like, thanks, Dad. So I've been trying to put a blacksmith shop in the back of the house so I can get Dad to I can get
Your wife's
an
gonna love
excuse
you.
for Dad to give it to me.
Yep.
But I'm not the son he likes, so just what it is.
Whoever gets there first claims it.
That's the way me and my brother look at it. So we're trying to keep ourselves on the up and up. But yeah, so there's a question about the tool chest. I actually got 2 of them here. Let me show them to you since I'm over there. So this is a Japanese tool chest design, right? If you ever want to make it, it's really simple. You've got a long. They're generally long and shallow. This is cherry and pine, and it's an oil finish and a lot of dust. But what you have is these are overhang a little bit, and they slide down and up, and you're able to take it off, and then you put it back. You just drop it in, slide down and up, and then of course you can put like a leather. Some of these have leather ties and stuff that people like in them. This was made. Oh my God, this was my first big project, and it's green because I needed a place to store tools at the school I was teaching, and green was their color. And this was my first attempt at a really big project. I looked at the anarchist tool chest. I couldn't build that because I didn't have this thing. I don't know if you guys know what it's called. It's called money. I didn't have any of it back when I was in Houston, and so I did have access to a place called Reuse Houston. And what they would do is I would be reused materials. So these are all free materials, and buildings would be cut down and stuff. So you get like 1x4s and 1x8s, and I would collect them over the course of 6 or 7 trips. And finally, I had enough to build this guy. So I've got some casters on the bottom from an old tool chest, little clasp, though it really should be installed the other way in order so people can't actually break into it. Didn't do that right, but that's okay. I learned. And then inside opens up, little guy here. I've got the tool tray full of interesting and weird tools, and these really are interesting and weird tools. They're a collection of my work and my brother's work. There's some pretty interesting ones here, like this guy, clever cutter, nice to cut paper and pencils with it. I don't know what this is. I've never seen this one before. Oh, that's a weird little carving tool. Huh? Look at that. Sorry, it's a little carving tool my brother bought for some reason. It gets traded between me and my brother a lot. These are never seen this before in real life. This is a trammel set, and it's just thick enough to put slide it on in here. Come on now. No, it did. Took you out. So this is a DIY trammel set that I made. So it's a block of wood. This is back when I was only as good as the middle schoolers. And it's got a little nail on it, so you stick it right here in the slot. You put your yardstick, and you tighten the thumb screw down. And then on this side, you've got your channel for your pencil, and you can now draw a circle or a curve as big as you want, as long as you have a piece of wood that'll stick between those 2 points. Can't really buy those tools. They have them, but you can't really buy them out there very often. This is a cool one that my brother made, a little mortise and a mortise one. He's got a little blade on it that he built on it, a nice big fence, and you drag that along the wood, and the blade cuts a mark so you know how deep to cut stuff. And then it's got
for years.
Huh?
I have not used one of those for years. I don't own one, but we use those at school.
Yeah, I've used it all like 4 times. Like whenever I have to cut a piece of joinery, that's usually when it busts out. Mine's over there. I usually use the roller one. But what I will say, he has these guys. This was a gift that brought to that I had. These are Gratz planes, and I've got a set that I like that are in there. That are footprints that I had tuned up, so I'm kind of partial to them. Somebody else tuned these guys up for us, and they're really nice. If you've never used a Gratz plane, if you do, right, and you want to use them for more than 2 minutes, fix this. This handle is awful. It's just uncomfortable, and it's not very good at its job. So turn a new handle, and then turn and sand and fix this, because I've got I don't have very big hands, but I feel like a giant when I hold this particular plane. Um, and I just wish these handles were all a little bit beefier or bigger. So you can work with those and get them. And yeah, so he's, it just has a big pile of tools in there. Um, Other tools that are there. Oh, look at that. It's little back saws and stuff. So that's what this guy is. A couple neat features. I really like that I used yardsticks for the trim work on the top and the bottom. It's always cute. People always kind of look at me and laugh when they see that. They really do. They really react to it. And then my other thing that I'm proudest about is you can almost see them. Those are hand-cut dovetails up and down the entire side. And these are the first ones I ever did. So I was pretty happy with the result.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, well, the paint solves a lot of problems, right? If you just cover it up
Also fair.
so that nobody can see it,
Yep.
it really it's really good.
That's
I actually
cheating.
did them better over here on the back of this one. You can sort of
Oh
see this guy. I've been walking around on my tripod here.
yeah. Oh, smart.
I use for YouTubing. So yeah, that's the set here. Any other questions that you guys saw? I want to hear my unvarnished opinions on.
What are your plans for your shop as far as additional
Oh, that's right. You did good, Farina. I like that you were listening and taking notes because I did mention that. So this area is not going to be a hand tool area anymore. I don't know where it's going to go yet, the hand tools, but over there in that corner, I want to put a 4x4 CNC machine. It's the only place that I have that I can put a CNC machine in the space. And then on this side, right, on this side, I'm going to put the laser cutter. So when I get
Is that all while your wife is in North Carolina or
Georgia.
Georgia? Does she
No.
actually know that you're
No,
doing
I have to. Unfortunately, I've spent all the money that's in my particular my tool account for the moment, and
Yeah.
I need to get Nova Labs need to get we need to get back in the shop so I can put a couple high running classes together so I can get.
It's a forecasted up. It's a forecasted upgrade to the shop.
Well, I had a laser cutter in my Texas shop, and I will tell you that I was 100 watt. It was 100 watt, and it was a 2x18 by 12. No,
Not bad.
18 by 24.
That
And
works.
it took it took the level that I was able to accomplish at the shop from down here to up here, right? Simply because the precision was there, the ability to engrave was there, the ability to do all that stuff was it was sitting there for me. And right now, the 20, 30 minutes that it takes to go and the planning that it takes to go and make something happen at Nova Labs versus happening in here is different, right? Like I have heard in my time in Makerspaces, right? A lot of people are like, they go to the labs and a lot of people that have a shop like I do, right? Will go to the labs to get a makerspace, not just the labs. It happens at every makerspace. They'll get frustrated because it's a community space. So things aren't set up and things get broken and things change. And they get upset about that, right? And I never did figure it out because I thought that was the deal when you go to a makerspace, right? Something's going to change. It get improved upon, you hope, but it doesn't always happen that way. But I did realize something a little bit later on, and I realized that I don't use the makerspace the same way that everybody else does, right? I don't use it in a similar in that way. I don't make a whole ton at Nova Labs. If you see me making something in Nova Labs, it's because this shop can't handle it. So I'm using the CNC, I'm using the laser, I might be in the metalworking section. I'll often be in the electronics or I'll be in the 3D printing area. But very rarely am I spending an enormous amount of time in the wood shop, wood shopping, because for all that precision work that I do on my projects, I have this space.
Okay.
That's where I can get that done. That being said, what do I use the shop for at Nova Labs? And that's to teach. And that's the thing that I bring to the table that not a whole lot of other people can bring to the table. Now, I mean, that being said, half the audience is other instructors. So I'm not really, it's kind of embarrassing. But, that's like the thing that I think a lot of us who are in this particular class of user, that's what we bring to the table. We might have our own home shop and we do cool stuff, but like, I don't need to use the wood shop that often, in the same sense as I don't go there to the wood shop so I can use it. I go there so I can mentor and practice those teaching skills that I have there, right? It's a totally different mindset when I go into that space. I think though my personal plans, right? I've quit my job at the end of the year. I will no longer be a teacher. And until another role shows up for me that I really, really like, I'll be, building and making on my own through Woodshopcowboy at the LLC. So upgrading the tools to have a CNC capability and have a laser capability makes a lot of sense. There'll still be projects that I have to go to the labs for, but there won't be projects that they probably won't be like, I won't be able to do production runs at the labs in the same way that I can do it at home. And that's going to be a big pain point for everybody involved if I'm over at the labs trying to run a production piece. We have, one or two or three people that do that, and every single maker can tell you they have a pain point with that particular person at some point, because that's what they're doing there, right? And just minimizing those pain points would be pretty good. So those are two pieces. In the back, I'm not going to show you the back, and I have a shed that's full of lumber and big pieces of wood that I told myself I would turn, but I haven't done it yet. They're just sitting there. Just project streaming. If you can't tell, right, I buy a lot of things probably bulkier than most people when they go shopping for stuff at Lowe's. So like when I need to buy a sheet of plywood or a melamine for a project, I might buy 2 sheets, I might buy 3 sheets, because I've got the space to store it. And oftentimes I will be able to, like I did with my concrete class, I had a project, I had a concrete countertop I wanted to make for a cabinet work. And I said, you know what? I can turn this into a class. Now that I've done it a couple times, I can whip a class together and show other people how to do this project. So I'll buy enough materials that I'll be able to run an experimental class behind the project itself and kind of offset the hobby costs or the renovation costs that I've got going on when I do this other stuff. I've done that I'll be doing that again if for my cabinet making class, right? That's the wood that we're going to use right there. What did I buy? Oh, the beds. I bought some plywood for the beds for my sons, and right, the offcuts were there, and they're just enough to make a kitchen cabinet. So why don't we just do that? We're just gonna build a kitchen cabinet. It's gonna be sweet. Yeah, so I'm a little different in that way. I remember I went to a woodworking guild meeting one time, and the woodworker says, so I went down to the port. I was in Houston. I went down to the port today, and I bought 2,000 board feet of mahogany. And I'm like, why'd you do that? Like, what project do you have going on? He's like, I don't, but somebody's going to ask for mahogany, so I'm going to go buy that. And in 15 years, when I need it, he bought the entire container case, right? Texas, all they have is land and cheap material. He just bought the container and just parked it out on his lawn, and that's what that everything he made out was mahogany until hither to yon. And that's what that's what he did. And I was like, oh, I mean, I can see the point when you're building at that volume, you might as well have the material at hand because it costs you more to go chase it down, especially in our area. We've got one lumber yard within reasonable driving distance, and when you go there, you may or may not die. So, you might as well. You're going to go to CP Johnson's anyways. You're going to go to Maryland. You're going to go to Colonial Hardwoods and give them your firstborn. You just might as well, buy it in bulk, and which is like my trick, right? I go down to CP Johnson and I'll just clear out his poplar section. Just buy all the bargain bin poplar he has. You're going to make painting projects for days using that stuff, and you can just cut it and go and don't have to worry about it. So there we go. Anything else?
Yeah,
Anyone?
if we bring our own masks, can we use your workspace until Nova Labs opens up again?
Well, you have to stay. Who's asking that? I just saw Ray. Is that you?
Yep.
I don't know if I've met you, Ray. But I would say yes, but unfortunately, I don't know. I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I'm 36. So like we just DGAF over here. We're not the cleanest people. You can't touch any solid surfaces down here during this particular coronavirus. But yeah, I'm normally pretty open. I mean, my brother and my brother-in-law and other brother-in-law and my father-in-law and my father sometimes all show up every now and then and put together projects and stuff. In fact, I got a couple from my brother, so I like to brag on him a little when he's not around. That's the only time I like to talk good things about him. I don't know if you guys have that relationship with your brother, but I do. This is a real conversation my brother and I had. One time I said, the problem, Jim, is that you're mom's favorite. He goes, I know, but I don't care enough about you to change that fact. But he likes to do this type of stuff. He likes to do little carvings and stuff like that. So this is his little floppy-headed wood spirits. And so, he'll come over, have a couple bios. He'll carve, and I'll build something stupid on the lathe or something like that. It's a good time. It's I like the space. It's big enough to be social in. You can have 2 or 3 people. I've had entire Cub Scouts group meetings here, and it's big enough for 6, 7, 8 kids to come through at a time, and that's completely different than most other people's shop. There's a couple things I'd change. If you ever get the opportunity, I would not use this crappy ass crap that's up here. It's just, I supposedly it keeps it quieter. I don't know if that's true, because I have children and I have boys. I have a sports boy. I have a basketball playing boy. He plays basketball inside. I don't really hate it. But I also had these guys, I don't even know what to do with this crap. I'll show you the guys this. You guys see that they decided just to staple the wire on the joist? What the fuck does that crap? I don't believe that's the code. I don't even know what that's to. Doesn't look like it's Romex, so I think I can chop into it. I think it's my cable, and since I'm a millennial and I don't watch cable, I should be okay.
My house.
Yeah, but look,
Mine was done the same way.
Yeah, well, this guy's got, now that is Romex. That is the circuits to the other room, and they're on the outside. So
No, you can use the white stuff.
So sooner or later, I'm going to replace the ceiling with drywall. That's actually 2 renovations. I think it's 2 renovations. I'll replace it with drywall, so I have a little bit better of a space. And then if I stay here long enough and I can continue saving money and the finances work out, outside I'd like to put an overhead deck over the shed and an open space where I can put a propane forge and get it out of the wind and the rain, and that'll also be a nice place to do spray painting and stuff. Not while the forge is on, but afterwards. And be an outdoor metalworking studio out there. My neighbors are pretty cool. I don't think they'd care, and I wouldn't be outside doing it at 10 o'clock at night anyways. So that's kind of the next one, is getting into blacksmithing and figuring out a way to not have to take the stuff from here out or fill up my already filled shed that's full of gardening implements and stuff like that, and my wood stockpile. filling that space up with that stuff, because I don't want to bring the wood pile down here. Because what I have to do is line up all my long pieces down on the floor over there, because that's the only place to store something that's over 6 feet long, and because this is less than 8 feet tall, and that's annoying. I hate it. But I leave it all over there, and then I bring it out and cut it, and that sort of works. So there we go. All right. We good? All right, guys.
Impressive.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that you got to see the Shangri-La, as I call it.
So one last question.
Oh, there's not going to be a last one.
Has it always been this organized, or did you do it just for this?
A little column A, a little column B.
All right.
So I am a piler when it comes to my organization. So what I mean by that is I have a real, I will essentially pile everything that goes together in my mind into a space, and that's where it will be. Okay. So right, my crappy tools are in the crappy toolbox, right? The regular tools are all in the regular toolbox, but within the organization, I'm not that organized, right? Like here's my really sweet, amazing, yeah, that looks like a really good organized just measurement area, right? Like it's just piled of crap, right? Here's all the weird crap that doesn't fit somewhere else, but I can always kind of do this, and it goes away, right? And that's the trick to it in my book, is if I just have it piled out, if I don't have organizations to the piles, my brain freaks out. So while I'm doing a project, the project area collects, but I'm really good about when the project is done, I move it back. And then I have a couple places where I just throw projects. I don't do projects. So like here's a project that's midway through, right? I'll just pile it up. All the stuff is just, all the crap's going to go there. And I'm not going to worry about what it looks like, because it's going to go there. But then I'll do this. I'll have this problem, right? Which is this, I haven't organized this. This is just weird crap. I mean, like this is a wedding photo. That's my wife when she was very pretty. She's still very pretty, but she was very pretty back then. I'm just kissing her. Sorry, I thought this was the cool one where I was riding a motorcycle. I rode a motorcycle to my own wedding. It's pretty awesome. It's just weird crap. Like here's stuff. I don't know what it's from, but I know I was working on it. Here's a clock set that was given to me 15 years ago, where somebody said, this is a project that you should do. And they handed this to me, and I've kept it in this little box. It's traveled 3,000 miles from the first person to me, and then 3,000 miles from where I first got it. And I'm going to hand this off to somebody else who's starting woodworking and say, hey, this is a clock set. You should make this someday.
Okay, but
and
honestly, we need a clock in the wood shop, because the one at the Greenway, and if you're telling me you've got the parts for a clock, I should see. Can that appear in the wood shop when we get back, please?
So I needed a clock.
Okay.
And I had that one.
Fix it.
So what I did was I bought a different one.
Okay.
And I put it in the boat art.
There you go.
Oh, and I leave this one out without the thing on, because it just reminds me of the time that I had this. It reminds me of that. These are all projects from my Monarch days. So this is like my wall of things that remind me, and I cry about, get sentimental about it, right? But yeah, so that's kind of like my organization stuff. And then every now and then, like, you know, when I have to show it off, or when I have people over, or I get tired of it, you know, my wife yells at me about it or whatever, I'll go in there. And what happens is it actually makes that process of going through the stuff and figuring out where everything is a lot less overwhelming. So I think that's what happens to a lot of people is that just, you go into the pile of weird crap that you piled in the backyard. You're just like, I don't want to deal with that. So you walk away from it. And the piles are a lot smaller. So I feel like I have just as much shit as everybody else. I just feel like I can handle it a little bit more. And in reality, I can because I can put more stuff because it's all, in the same kind of spot. I only have one spot for sandpaper and I only have one spot for this. And the other thing that I don't do is, and I'm really good about this, this is my trick, is that I don't get more things for the same spot. And if it doesn't fit in that spot, I get rid of something else. I don't go buy something else to put it in and find a new spot for it, right? So like if the sandpaper doesn't fit in the sandpaper drawer, then maybe I don't need all the sandpaper in the sandpaper drawer. Or maybe I don't need the sandpaper that I'm trying to fit in it. Like one of the two things has to go away because I only need one drawer of sandpaper. I don't need that much sandpaper. Something's got to give. And I'm really good with myself about that part. I don't think enough of us are. Right? Yeah, I mean, like, that's just what happens, right? You just sit there and you're like, I got it. There's a new spot. I could put it over here. And then, you can't find anything because, you put things in all different places. And anyways, but that being said, this system does not work for more than one or two people because everybody has to agree that that's what the system is, right? The put everything away when you're done using it and don't add more tools to a space that has no more room for tools until you make space or you throw something away. And then like go through it and don't be really sentimental about it, about what you're doing. Like if you haven't used that weird salvaged thing in 15 years, you probably could get rid of it because you didn't use it yet. And it's not like you're going to use it, soon. Just toss it, give it away, put it someplace where you think people will use it, and put it in FreeCycle, and I'll throw it away for you.
Oh geez, I have 50-year-old tools I haven't used.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't mind that. Like, I have the space for it, right? I don't use all these tools every day.
Yeah, I have a very much smaller space, so everything's kind of piled in. But I have drawers for things.
Yeah.
All the saws are in one drawer. All the things for hand grinding engine valves are in another one.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I mean, whatever you do, that's the way. I just, what I find happens is you get attached to the thing and not to the purpose, right? You get attached to the thing and not the purpose. And that's, that's a problem. I mean, that's not every most sentimental thing I've ever made in my career as a maker that's on those shelves. That's just the most sentimental stuff that I've kept on those shelves. And if I want to put something else from another project or from another year, I'm going to have to take something off those shelves because those shelves are getting pretty full over there, So I've got to, I'm just know I'm going to have to do it, and I'm going to do it. But, I really subscribe to the Marie Kondo life of the wood shop. I have a big one. I think I have a big one. I don't know. I've got a pretty good sized shop. But I subscribe to, like, I don't want to feel overwhelmed in here. I need to have space to grow my tool collection. I need to have space to do things. I need stuff to do. So one thing I will be doing is sooner or later, and probably sooner than later, I will be replacing that outfeed table with a nice thick topped cabinet. Going to look a lot like the Greenway benches out there. And I'm probably going to replace this fire truck workbench too, because I've got a planer and I'm going to get a joiner tomorrow. So I'll be able to, do a lot more work down here with those two machines. I will say this, those two machines are brand new to me. I've been in this shop for 4 years. I had a shop previously at my house. I did not have a jointer there. I only had a planer and a bandsaw and a table saw. And I get away with that because in Houston, I had a shop, I had a lumber yard that sold 2S or S2S lumber. So it was already planed and jointed on one side. I didn't have to do that level of rough cleaning up. And here we don't really have one that does that very well. I also made the choice to not bring in a jointer, and especially not a planer, because for the most part, those two machines are extremely loud. And I used to work essentially right under my kid's bedroom. Now I'm 2 floors away from under their bedroom, and then it's a little bit quieter. They seem to sleep through it. But they used to be really small, and I would wake them up. So I couldn't do anything super loud. Table saw didn't really get that loud. Lathe only got loud when things fell off and hit me in the face, and I yelled curse words. So the planer and the joiner were the two loud ones, and I didn't need them. I also had access to a Makerspace down in Texas, and I had access to Nova Labs since I got here, and we've always had a joiner and a planer. So you'll see me, I was telling you about, I don't really use the shop to do that stuff. One thing I do a lot in the shop, and you'll see me do it, is I'll come in late at night and I'll just bring a pile of wood and I'll just do all the milling in one night for a project or two. And that's what I did there. I did a lot of milling and resawing and stuff like that. So I'm there's ways to get around it without spending a ton of money on your tooling and spending a lot of time in having tools in there. I think every shop, the metal shop probably has one or two tools that you can say, I don't really need to have that blankety tool if I have this other tool, right? As long as I avoid X material, every discipline has something like that you can do and different ways that you can work it. So you can get around having that stuff. You don't need a shop like this to do half the stuff I do. It's easier, and it's a lot more fun. But you can get away with a track saw and a track saw and an assembly table setup. Go to town, or you can get away with really with the sliding miter saw. When I do the cupper or the kitchen cabinet class next 2 weeks from now, I think maybe 2 weeks from now, when I do it, I'm going to use the table saw to trim everything up, and then I'm going to use the miter saw to cut everything down to the right size. I can cut up to 24 inches on that machine. I just have to be really careful about my setup and everything like that. But I can cut 24 inches. I don't need the table saw to do cross cuts. I just, I can set it up that way. I also use the sawhorses and a piece of plywood or a piece of the green foam. It's over here. The one that I have for inside is over there in the corner. You can see it. A piece of green foam like that to chop plywood down to its right size, or cut through slabs when I need to have a straight line and it's too big to go in the joiner, or I don't have a joiner. I use that all the time. I mean, there's ways to get around it. You just got to know what they are and be willing to make the sacrifice in your workflow in order to get the shop that you have to work. So, good question.
I just wanted to let you know that right as you said, buy new equipment, because that way nothing's missing, everything's all set up. What I was doing with my arms in the picture, I was
Did she go out, or is that me?
She went out.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, she must have been doing something cool.
Talking of going out,
All right.
going out, I'm going to have to go out now.
All right, bud. Yeah, no, I can talk for hours about
Yeah,
this.
thanks for the tour.
Obviously, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Nick, before you go, did you and Patrick want to talk about the virtual Nova Labs dinner party you guys are hosting?
Oh, yeah. Nick is getting beer. I'm doing barbecue. Adam is doing some sort of Korean, not sushi, but it looks like sushi. Korean rolls. Jim Sweeney is going to be making salads, and Jean is doing baking. So she's going to bake something. I don't know exactly what. She says she's really good at beignets, hopefully she'll show us that recipe. And she sent me a message. She was going to make, apparently I wrote down tarbouze thinking that was an actual French word, but it's not. What she said was, I'll make tarts, but, and she forgot the space, and I thought tarbouze was a French word for something I didn't know. But she'll be making stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be kind of like this. We're gonna start at 7. I got 15 minutes to chit chat about barbecue. Jean's got 15 minutes to show how she does her baking. Jim's 15 minutes to do a dish. Nick, you got 15 minutes to talk beer. You can talk for as long as you want about beer. I am all ears.
I can talk about beer forever, but
I will listen so hard, man.
but yeah.
And we got Adam doing the dishes. So we got 2 sides, we got a main course, we got a dessert, and we got that other dessert. So we should be solid. We're gonna have a dinner party. A little countercultural programming because it's at the same time as the fireside chat. So maybe we'll get the fireside chat people to come on over. So that ought to be good. Maybe they won't do it. Can we only do one of these at a time, like one Zoom session at a time? Is that the problem?
They have their own account, but I'll ask him if he can join.
Okay. So, anyways, anything else y'all need me to talk about?
Nope.
My knees are hurting. There's no flooring down here, so I've been walking on it. All right, guys. I will see you later. Okay.
Sounds like
Adios.
you have to get upgraded with padding and flooring.
Yeah. Right.
Half-inch rubber stuff.
Dude, Nick, I'll tell you what. I've tried it, and I really didn't like it. I can't vacuum it. Right? I can't sweep it up. I can't vacuum it. It's so weird. Now we're going to talk about
shiny
3
is
hours.
good.
Let's talk about 3 hours about rubber mats.
Well, maybe what you need to do is paint it.
Yeah, well,
Paint it so it's shiny.
Oh,
I
God.
painted it. I painted the floor, but I can't put anything on the floor. I slip or something like that. I got to wear good shoes, and I'm wearing the very safe flip flops.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is solid PPE right here. Solid.
Flipper.
That's good. The flippy floppies. That's what I'm rocking right now. So.
All right. That's why I always wear running shoes. So.
Yeah. Usually it's running shoes or my work boots, but the flip flops seem to be what I'm. It's flip flop days. It's flip flop weather, man. That's what I've got. I've got a long sleeve shirt on, and I've got my flip flops. I got no socks on. Good to go.
That's right. All right. Now,
Okay.
I already got to go. All right.
Peace.
Bye.
See you, Todd. See you, Karen.
Bye.
All right. Let's see here. How am I going to make this recording stop and go? There we are.